Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and our first item of business, welcome, by the way, everybody. Hopefully everybody's safe and families are well. This is the first virtual board meeting of this body. I'm going to turn it over to Jim for a few items of business before we get into the agenda proper. Jim?
Thank you, Taylor. Just a couple quick reminders about how we'd like to operate these online meetings. We would ask that you mute your mic whenever you're not speaking, so that way the person that is speaking can be heard clearly. We also ask that you keep your camera on. It's really helpful to be able to see the expressions and make sure people understand what we're talking about. And so if cameras are turned off, that becomes a little more difficult. And then one thing that really is helpful is if you need to break in, please say, "This is Jim," and then give your comment. That way, if two people try to start at the same time, we don't lose the content of what either of them said. We only lose kind of that introduction piece, and then one or the other can defer and allow the other person to talk. So that one takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's very helpful to making the meeting flow a little better. And with that, introductions are a little clunky on online meetings. And so if I may, I'm gonna just say who I see on my screen and ask that you give a little wave. Starting in my upper left is Taylor Giles, Christine Andrag from the school district, Caitlin Sullivan from the school district, Eric Timmons, one of our Bond Oversight Committee members, which I also should have said about Taylor Giles. He's our chair of our Bond Oversight Committee. We have Rick Raynone calling in. We have Ken Bell with the school district. Casey Cunningham from Cornerstone Management. You'll be hearing a lot from Casey in a bit. Sean Walker from Skanska. Mary Dolan from Cornerstone. And I think I saw Eric Ross jump up. Hi. And with that, Taylor, I think that's the points I was hoping to make this evening. I'll turn it back to you.
All right, fantastic. We have minutes from last meeting that have been sent out. Is there a motion to approve the meetings as written, or a motion to amend?
This is Jim. Taylor, this may actually be the one thing we do need to postpone until we have a quorum, because this would be both.
Oh, that's right.
So if we may,
we've got so many people here, I forgot that we don't have that. Okay, we will postpone that and take care of that at our next one.
Thank you.
Public comment. We do not have any public comment. Is that right? Do we still not have any public comment?
That is correct.
Okay. Let's see. Can I turn it over to you then, Jim, for the future plans of helping us lead a discussion on which topics we would like to focus on for the upcoming meetings?
Certainly. So at the May meeting, we have a couple of topics that I think we'd like to cover. First is rebranding, which the school district has embarked on as part of our bond process. And that includes new logos and a whole lot of work that is a lot of dedicated people have put into kind of relaunching our district with a new brand. Christine Andrag, who's on our call tonight, will be giving us that update at the May 27th meeting. And then our friends at Skanska have an application called Struction Site, which allows them to kind of give a virtual tour through photos to us. And so we're looking at that as a possible second kind of focus topic for the May 27th meeting. I don't hear any arguments to either of those topics or a request to do something different. That's what I'd like to do. I think it's timing wise good to have that kind of virtual tour of the new high school right as we get close to substantial completion. And then we, at the August meeting, come back to technology and curriculum. And couple of those topics we'd planned to do earlier, but with the need to talk about the COVID effects today, we've pushed those back a bit.
So, Jim, that am I right in assuming that that does not take the place of an in-person tour that would happen later as we get closer to the opening of it?
Correct. My assumption is that by the end of May, we're still going to be meeting in this kind of a format. And so doing face-to-face on that site is just not a possibility at the moment, or even probably a month from now. So it's unfortunate, but it is the reality of social distancing that we can't do it at this point. So there's no other.
Are there any other ideas for topics that maybe we're missing that would replace any of these from the board? Okay, Jim, it sounds good.
Great.
Let's
Thank you.
move on to the fifth item, the fiscal reports. Jim?
So quite a bit has changed since you last saw this in January. Really just around the transformation work. And you're starting to see that we've committed a fair amount of money to some of these projects. I'll draw your attention to line 3, the committed to date went from about $820,000 at our last meeting to essentially 5.4 million. And that's a recognition that we've gone through the process of bidding things out, and we're signing those letters of authorization to give the contractors the approval to go do the work and spend the money. The elementary school transformation jumped up to 4.6 million, and the district office to about 3.35 million. I'll point out that our paid to date is at 207 million, and that was 191 million previously. And because of those district office and the other transformations, the uncommitted budget has dropped from 26.8 million to about 13.3. So you're seeing us really spend that large pot of money that we expected to with the transformations at those 4 buildings. And it's really showing up now in the financial books in a way it hadn't in January. Not out of the ordinary and to be expected, but it's interesting to see in 3 months just how much it's changed. Any questions on that? Or on the project roll-up costs? Okay. If there's nothing there, then Taylor, if I may, I'll move on to schedule. Great. Construction dates have changed. You'll hear more about this from Casey and Mary in a few minutes, but we started the elementary school transformation at SMS just before spring break, and we are ramping up at each of the other transformations to start earlier than our previously planned June 12th-ish date. The other dates to note is the dedication of the new high school is scheduled for August 29th. And then we will be doing ribbon cuttings at all the transformation buildings on September 12th. So please mark your calendars for all of those dates. Any questions on our schedule? Taylor. Taylor, you appear to be muted.
Are those scheduled for evening events, or are they during the day?
They are during the day, and I believe both those dates are Saturdays.
Oh, great.
Yeah, there was a concerted effort to make sure that students could be more involved at the dedication. So that's why Saturday was selected.
Jim, this is Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, so I see, we got about $55 million to spend still in 4 months. Is that how we feel about that?
We can do it. No, part of that actually is technology and curriculum funds that will be over a 10-year period. So it's not the full 55 million, but we do expect to spend quite a bit over the next essentially 5 months. We've been spending about 7 million a month at the high school alone, and then we're going to tackle those transformations, which combined rough numbers is 13 million, and that's going to happen very quickly as well. Great. All right, if I may, I will move on, and we're going to give our updates on 2019-20. I will say up front that our main focus topic tonight is, in fact, the COVID impacts, and so the updates you're going to get in the next couple minutes from Casey and Mary are more related to what's going on, what we've done so far, and then we will kind of circle back and hit the COVID piece. So if I can ask for your patience a little bit, let them get through the things that are non-COVID related. We will spend a fair amount of time a little bit later in the agenda on COVID. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off, I think, to Casey.
Thanks, Jim. So yeah, we got some pretty, actually, we can start with Sean first on the new high school?
I'm sorry, yes. Sean, you're okay. Give us the virtual tour. Let me pull it up, just one moment.
Sounds good.
Okay. So this is Sean Walker from Skanska. And Sean, you can walk me through.
Okay. If you click that, that is going to give us our latest video. This is about a week and a half ago, and it's a little choppy over this, but what you're looking at right now is the old parking lot where our trailers used to be. That is now parking lot, and that is scheduled to pave. We are paving as soon as the weather clears up. That's all ready. As we move around, the service yard brick wall will be complete next week, and actually all brick on the building is finishing up next week. So that's a very exciting piece for us. You move back around since this photo was taken. The bike shelter up at level 3 is done. You can start to see. You can barely see the ticket booth there at the west end of the stadium. That's roofed now, and we are in all of our site buildings getting ready for getting utilities in. The JV baseball field that we're flying over, you can see the corner of it. They just reseeded that. That was kind of remnants of the September storms that we had, and that's all being corrected. That construction road around the backside of the stadium is no longer there. We are getting to kind of final state, and that we only have certain roads in certain areas. We've got that patio out in front of the fitness center. That is all concrete. That courtyard's done. The courtyard at the building is really coming together. It looks really great. They've got the signs in. They have the sidewalks all the way down to the edge, so you can walk on concrete from the level 2 in the main entry all the way down out to the road. And I think that is going to finish that video up right about now. We've got our trailers stacked there on that entrance road, so it's we're coming down to it. It's an exciting time, and that's the latest video. We always love these. They're looking really good.
And Sean, I know there's some pictures here. I'll let you walk us through what these are.
Yeah, and we got the wheelchair lift at the auditorium. This will take you down into the orchestra pit from the side of the auditorium. So that is installed now from kind of the last time we've ever had anybody walk through or see it. Next. That is the gym bleachers. They got installed a couple weeks ago. The floor's down. They're actually starting to get ready to paint, or they started painting the striping on the floor already. So that's kind of the gym. I don't know when everybody got a chance to see it last, but that looks a lot further along probably than the last time you saw it. Cascade Point, I know this is one of the areas that'll be part of the COVID discussion, but that's very close to being buttoned up, except that we can't get the large pieces of glass in, so we're almost there, and that's a social distancing requirement that's been put in place. So, but the doors are gone, and we were able to work through getting the inside work going. We had to rework some areas so we could finish soffits, and then get the inside ceilings going. Commons floor polishing is complete now, but this was when they were doing it, and the photo doesn't do it justice. But that wall on the back side, if you can see, that's a vinyl graphic that's about 95 or 75 feet long and about 25 feet tall, and it looks really good in person. The picture doesn't do it justice. I hope you guys really enjoy it when you see it for the first time. But we're trying to get the commons all buttoned up there. There's an example of the signs. In this picture, they're installing the map that goes up on the top there, and you can see kind of the steps, all the concrete boulders. Those are all installed. They've actually installed the turf that goes in the courtyard, so it looks really good right now. And even the excuse me, the sheet metal and the brick in the back there that was yellow, that's all gone. That is all finished product now. So. Culinary classroom really coming together. Got to drop some ceiling tile and finish commissioning the equipment, but you can see that's one heck of a place to learn how to cook. I think the students and faculty should be really excited about that room. That's pretty cool. This is the interior storefront at the main entry. So if you can imagine, you'll walk into the building, and that what you're looking at is where you'll walk into the administrative office. If you go to your left here, you'll be walking straight out into the school. So that's that main atrium in the main entrance. So you can see we've got good portion of the curtain wall up, and we're working through the issue with the glass, getting those installed. And the issue with the glass that I didn't touch was they're about 300 pounds a piece, so they take 2 people to maneuver. And the problem is you can't get 2 people. They're only about 3.5 feet wide, and so you can't get 2 people 3.5 feet wide under our current restrictions. So that's the challenge we're trying to overcome. Log benches. These are actually installed in the courtyard now. So they poured the footings today, and tomorrow, in essence, if you were on site, you could go sit on those nice benches, and they look really great. And this is just a view of the gym from up on those bleachers you just saw. So looking down from the upper section. And that, if you remember where our trailers were, about dead center of this photo is where that triple wide was, where if you came out and looked, that's all the visitor parking and people coming, student and visitor parking on the northeast side of Haiti. So and that's going to be concrete or asphalt paving here by next week. Next aerial video should look a lot different. And there's the running track. They actually just got the lines painted the other day, and it looks good. And that'll be a great benefit for the school to have that. In the theater, I don't want to forget that the walls in the theater are pretty much done. We are taping, finishing, and getting ready. We've got the seats delivered; they're on site, and we are trying to button up all the sheetrock so we can paint it, and then we will be getting seats in and all of our finished carpentry. There's a lot of finished wood assemblies that go around those pony walls, kind of straight out, and yeah, those are the next activities we're getting done in the theater. Wrestling floor, it's really coming together. That is a great room for wrestling. In this picture, they're about 25% done. They are going to be almost completely done probably by the end of the week. And so that is that's coming along really nicely. Any questions on the high school progress?
Sean, this is Taylor. We'll probably get to more of this later, but thank you. That was a great overview. It's fun to see the progress, and good luck getting those windows in, I guess.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for the reminder, Casey. And now I'll go back to you, Casey.
So we have exciting beginning of our transformation projects that happened and started in March. Skanska was able to get out there. We've mobilized the site. I'm sure you guys have driven by Sherwood Boulevard and seen the trailer and the fencing up. The brunt of the work that we started so far is in the old gym auditorium. Completed the demo in there, and also down below that, there's a significant amount of blowing open walls and doing demolition of structure that occurs, and they've really gone after it. We've had a good show from our demolition contractor down there. They're pretty demo, getting prepared to put some shoring in to start opening up some of the holes for the new staircase there. So it's pretty exciting to be kind of moving towards the 4 of these transformation projects. If you go outside the building, if you kind of take a loop back in that little cul-de-sac back there, you'll see where the new playground has started. They've got that completely excavated. We got our plumbing permit today to start doing the underground utilities, and Bill Wilcox out there as a superintendent. He's chomping at the bit to get that closed up here this summer as soon as he can too. So pretty good start. In regards to that, I'm going to go over kind of 3 other things of the project, and that's the permits, the buyout, and the schedule. We've received all of our permits now at the EST project, which is pretty big. We weren't planning on starting a lot of this work until June, so we kind of rushed and got these going so that we could get going on some of this bigger work to get us moving forward here as soon as we can. And so that one was a little bit early for us, which is good. Regarding buyout, Sean and I have been doing our letters of authorization, and we've got all those complete, and we're working on finalizing that GMP before the end of the month. Moving down to schedule, as we stated, with school being out, we've worked with Skanska to work on getting that schedule redone to start on May 11th to give the teachers ample time to kind of get packed up and our movers move the stuff out of their way so they can get back into that building. And so they've provided a schedule that allows us to kind of get started early and take advantage of the opportunity that's kind of been presented to us with the COVID issues. We'll talk a little bit more on schedule challenges later on in the evening during our COVID-19 presentation. On the district office transformation, this is another Skanska project over at Hopkins Elementary. We haven't started construction here. We are just like the other projects, I started looking at a May 11th start date, and that'll kind of push us to getting all of the work done. I mean, any gains in the schedule will be nice, but this gives us opportunity to handle any COVID delays as well. So regarding permits, we are through our building, plumbing, and mechanical review at the city, and our final hurdle is kind of our engineering phase, where the city is reviewing the stormwater plan and getting through erosion control. We are targeting a May 8th permit for this project. Buyout, the same status. We're got almost all the LOAs signed and trying to get the GMP established by the end of the month. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary, who's going to talk about the Ridges and the middle school transformation project.
Thank you, Casey. So I will talk about the Ridges project first. This project was originally slated to begin mid-June, about June 12th, and so we haven't yet begun construction there. Russell Construction was awarded that contract earlier this year, and so I've been working a lot with them to make sure that we can start around May 11th. That's our projected start date with work over at the Ridges. In terms of permits, we are through the city of Sherwood and with the building, mechanical, and plumbing permits. And I'm working with Russell with the construction to get the electrical permits through the county. And then we'll finalize the engineering permit, which will let us start our site work in early May. So that's where we're projecting to begin. There's no additional buyout at this point because this was a hard bid project. So that process is complete there. So that's good news there. And like I said, we're pushing Russell to start earlier in May. So there's not really any major schedule impacts. We can talk further about that during the COVID update. Moving over to the middle school transformation, Triplet Wellman is the CMGC firm that is on this project. They were able to begin some early work in the gymnasium with the bleacher replacement. So we were able to get in and kind of do a lot of that work the week before spring break and the week of spring break. So that was great that they were working creatively to get in there and do that. We were trying to get a jump start on some of the site work, but got held up through some permitting. That permitting will be cleared by the end of this month, and we will get back to that site work, which is where the covered play will be going over at the middle school transformation. In terms of permits, like I said, we are just waiting on that engineering permit through Clean Water Services. And once we have that, then we can begin the site work. Otherwise, the building, mechanical, and plumbing permits are ready to be issued. So once we have those, we can begin the interior work around May 11th. Buyout, similar to the Skanska DOT project, we have signed most of the LOAs for this project. We have a few remaining that we plan to get done this month so that we can finalize the GMP in time for construction start on May. And again, I'll give more construction updates to potential schedule impacts during the COVID update. Thank you. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks. And I'm actually going to turn it back to Casey to talk about the 2019 summer work wrap up. And then also, Casey, if you would cover the county road work.
So thanks, Jim. Summer work, we have gotten to a point where we've wrapped up all the final commissioning pieces since the last time we talked. Years kind of put together the final winter commissioning pieces that we did because we had kind of finished that project during the fall. So they come in the winter. Found a couple issues that we were working through with some controllers with Climate Tech, and we are through that phase. So we are closed on the high school project, and we have had, actually, I would say, a really good, as far as warranty goes, we've had a very limited quantity callback. So we feel good about the quality of construction we got last summer. Now the county project has been as much of a challenge as we're going to be around for lots of different reasons, and I'm sure you guys have all been dealing with it for the closures, the Bellwort, and the challenges that faced. We have gotten through phase 2, which allowed us to take back our access road that the county was using as a detour. So Haiti Road is open, the Elwort down to the Elks is open, and all the way back down to Edie is open. So that was a pretty big milestone for us. We had a little bit of a snag that last week, caused a little bit of a delay. They had some piping that was installed incorrectly that they had to go back and fix. So they lost a week there, but for the most part, we were able to maintain our schedule on site. Dave did a little bit of juggling with how to get some of that road work done and made it work okay. But it was Kerr's been a decent partner. They sometimes come to us after they've made mistakes, and we have to figure out how to make them work. But at the same time, they're pushing really hard to get it done in a timely fashion so that we have it in June.
Thanks, Casey. Any questions from anyone about any of those topics?
Just one comment, Jim. This is Rick. Kruger Road is also open, and when we open a new road, it's usually with the first lift of asphalt down, and when they do the second lift, they still keep the road open They just restrict it from a 2-lane road to a 1-lane road and then use flaggers to control. But Kruger is open as well. And the sidewalks, I think the sidewalks, Casey, are, what percentage are the sidewalks complete on both Haiti and Kruger?
So Haiti is about 95% complete. I actually haven't seen, I was at Kruger out there last week and didn't see anything done on Kruger. The original goal was everything done by April 17th. They revised that with kind of their delay on Haiti to everything done by the end of the month. I know it's on the schedule to do all of Elwert starting tomorrow and moving continuously with, you know, weather pendant to be complete with the sidewalks by the end of next week.
Thank you.
I do want to recognize that John Heiser and James Grothy have both joined us as well on the call this evening. Welcome to both of you. And then our next topic is the variance report, which Rick Raynone is going to bring us up to date on.
Thank you, Jim. So the two things we're managing that are a variance and will require some changes is, number one, the start dates for our schedules. We're in the process of getting the updates that we need, and once we approve that schedule, that will be a variance. We believe that starting earlier will give us additional assurance that we'll be ready for staff. If you remember, our goal is not just to be ready for kids, but be ready for staff, so when they come back, they have adequate time to get all the classrooms and the other areas ready. So that's one thing that we're working on. The other thing is we bought a tremendous amount of new furniture for the buildings, predominantly at the new high school. We are working with new move dates for that furniture. We feel confident that the desks and for the student desks and student tables will be in on time. We're confident that the office administration furniture that we need will be in on time. We also just found out this week that the student chairs, which are actually coming from Germany, originally we wanted them on June 15th, and it looks more like the first or second week in August. We will update the schedules for those, but those are the variances that I see at this time. And we have strong teams working on the schedules and the FFE to make sure it's here, and we'll again be ready for staff. That's all I have, Jim.
Thanks, Rick. Any questions for Rick? Not, I'll move on to our next topic, which is the report to the community. Hopefully, as residents of the district, you already got these, but I just wanted to say thank you to Caitlin and Christine. They put a lot of work into getting these out, both in English and Spanish. They look fantastic. They have a lot of really good information. I got a lot of positive feedback from neighbors and stuff about them. So I'm very happy. And hopefully it represents your work and the district's work well. So.
I'd like to echo that. I've heard very good comments and people have been very, so thank you for your all of your effort there.
Again, Taylor, it was really Caitlin and Christine doing a lot of that work to get it out the door, and much appreciation to them.
Right. I should thank you, Jim, for clarifying that. I was looking at them when I said thank you. I knew they did most of the work on that. Thank you.
And it looks like you're all staring at me. So, you know, I'll move us along to our focus topic, which is, as we've talked about before, the COVID-19 impacts. And again, I'm going to turn it over mostly to Casey and Mary. Sean is online, as is Ken, to help us with any questions that you might have. And we're probably going to go through kind of the same order: the new high school, the elementary school transformation, district office transformation, Ridges, and middle school. And so they will be able to give you kind of a full picture of what that looks like for us. So Casey?
Thanks, Jim. So we have been dealing with COVID-19 the same way you guys have. We're probably not going to tell you anything new, but we're going to tell you what's been going on with the Sherwood School District projects. I mean, the biggest thing we see every day, especially at the new high school where we're nearing completion, is that we have a workforce that has been dedicated to this project and has kind of been introduced a new challenge, and that challenge can present different optics each day. I mean, Dave with Skanska has been telling us weekly kind of what he's been seeing. So some weeks, depending on the elevation of the concern, they'll get a little bit lower progress from the team. They'll see a lot of people on their phones, kind of checking on things more than they usually would. The morale out there was a little bit low. I think that from hearing from Dave, it's bounced back a little bit now that it's become a little bit of a new normal. And so people, they spent a lot of time at the beginning of the COVID response figuring out ways to do the work 6 feet apart and to stay productive and spending the time to kind of like solve those challenges of how do we stay working and meet the demands of the 6 foot challenge, and also just making sure that everyone can come to work every day. So they kind of scratched this flex and stretch and flex that they did in the morning, and have kind of dissolved into smaller groups where each subcontractor foreman is tasked with kind of making sure everyone's healthy enough to work that day, and they have a zero tolerance for people on site being sick. And so they aren't doing temperature checks, but they are doing kind of just evaluations visually every morning to make sure everyone who is there should be there. They have installed new hand wash stations at the very front of the building with hot water there. We've opened up some of the sinks inside the building now that we've got plumbing active, and allow more hand washing as much as possible. They have hand sanitizer stations around the building as well. Dave says about the masks aren't required, it's recommended, and so they're getting probably about 75% of the workforce is starting to wear masks now. But really what they've focused on is how do we keep people safe and keep people working at the same time. And Skanska's team has done an amazing job with that, as they have throughout the project, with any of the challenges we faced. So it's been really comforting for all of us to know that we have a partner out there that's really advocating on our behalf to make sure that the project's getting complete, but it's also done safely. And that's the same story at the EST. So that's kind of the site stuff. Well, our biggest challenges really to finish at the high school are what Sean talked about earlier, is getting glazing installed, and any of the items that you really can't do that are 6 feet apart. We've internally they've started talking about how do we do that? Is there a way to get the OSHA to allow us to be able to get there in case the 6 feet doesn't loosen up? So that's kind of the internal conversations that are going on right now to try to figure out how to do that. Right now we've been moving around the building and doing anything we can to kind of not do those activities until we hope that maybe the clearance for the 6 feet will loosen up. But if not, they're working on a contingency plan to be able to get those installed if that's required. Supply chain stuff. I mean, we've had some issues with signage companies that have shut down, like our main Sherwood High School sign outside the main entrance. That factory was shut down, so they had to find an alternate manufacturer, and they were able to do that. Let's see, what else do I got here for you? There was, we had a couple sick workers that had to go home. The guys doing the framing on the restroom building, they thought that they may have COVID symptoms, so they sent everybody home. They got a test back that was negative, and brought them back after they were no longer showing any sickness. And we're moving back on that portion of work. Same thing with the flooring installers in the gym. We had a person who was showing symptoms. They sent him home. And you know, you need challenges with, you know, any of these workforces, but especially like kind of these smaller groups. You know, they work together, and if you don't have everyone there, it doesn't really work. So, you know, you just sometimes you lose that whole crew. Baseball mound that was being made in Florida. That shut down for a while. We've got a revised shipping date, which is going to get here before the end of May, so we're in good shape. That we've had one company who does our concrete saw cutting finish line. They closed their shop completely. So, you know, unique challenges. At the high school, it was really more about completing the work. When we talk about the EST and DOT, it's about getting the materials here. We've got the playground equipment manufacturer shut down, fire alarm equipment. ES Edwards has shut down their factory. And so, you know, Skanska's been, you know, kind of finding different ways to get those materials, and they were able to find enough off the shelf fire alarm materials to kind of get those procured. And so we're able to keep going. That's the DOT. I think that's pretty kind of the big ones as far as the supply chain. I mean, we've kind of hit a pause, not really a pause, but a lull in kind of the response. The first couple of weeks we were getting, I mean, it felt like a new letter a day about, you know, what the impacts are. And this week, I don't think we've gotten one, maybe. So it's people are, you know, kind of, like I said, accepting the new normal and kind of figuring out ways to work around that, and finding different sources of materials and whatnot. So it's been an interesting time. We like I said, we've also had the school shut down in the middle of that, and so we've, you know, asked Skanska to provide us a revised schedule to start on May 11th with all the work that can go on at DOT and EST. So it's provided opportunities also for us to get ahead, and so we're taking advantage of that as well. I think with that, I'll turn it over to Mary. She's going to talk about the MST and Ridge's challenges as well.
Okay, Casey, before we move on from that, this is Taylor. So I appreciate the you know, the shuffling and everything that needs to be done. Are there different categories? Like, I could see us opening the high school if they don't have a pitching mound, but obviously they need a floor. So are you guys taking care of that and kind of prioritizing what has to be there, which is versus nice to haves? Or
yeah, that's a really good question, Taylor. So what we've done is we've started having conversations at our OSC about, you know, how do we get to substantial completion and occupancy, and so, you know, kind of prioritizing that exact phase that you're talking about. Now at the high school, though, we don't have any concerns about being open for when kids are allowed to return. We're already starting to we have a plan to have staff there on the 16th. Administration furniture shows up the middle of May, and they'll start building that, and we've got a plan to get occupancy for them to be able to be in that aspect and even have visitors on June 16th. You know, like I said, we right now we're kind of shuffling. But at the end of the day, you know, when it comes down, push the shove, I think, you know, Skanska will definitely find a way to get that glass in. You know, we'll be working with OSHA and figure that out. And I mean, ideally, they loosen up the 6 foot, and we can do that without some major challenges. But you know, that's something that that's all being worked on. But at the high school, we don't really have any big concerns with, especially opening for school start.
Taylor, this is from a kind of city perspective. Their concern with our occupancy is entirely about fire life and safety. So those are the things that we would prioritize to make sure we had done. And you're right, a pitching mound doesn't fall into that. Some of the other things would, and so that would be our focus initially. But Casey's right, our confidence is there that we're going to have everything done and be able to get the occupancy permit as we move forward. Rick, you had a comment?
Yes, thanks, Jim. Couple other updates. Interesting focus topic. We've never dealt with this before. You know, we're watching supply chain both at this district and other districts, and then sharing information that we gather from other projects in other school districts. But the things that we need labor and we need materials. And the thing that I was very concerned about when this started was, would we see a reduction in labor that impacted our path to completion? At the peak, that site saw somewhere around 270, sometimes we got into the low 300 workers on site. We have been keeping track of how many tradesmen show up, and we've been staying close to 230, which is still amazing that there's 230 people out there helping us have the labor. And we believe we're going to get everything that we need to get to occupancy. We also believe that we're going to find a way to get those other things done. But in terms of labor, we like what we're getting. In terms of supply chain, we have most of what we need for the high school, still a few parts and pieces, but in general, the high school is doing good, and our ability to start early at the transformations, we believe will pay dividends as well.
Thanks, Rick. If I may, I'm going to pass it off to Mary and have Mary go through her couple projects, and then we'll circle back for questions for all the projects here at the end.
Okay, thanks. As I said earlier in my project update, we haven't actually begun construction at the Ridges or at the middle school transformation. So one of the things that we're really focusing on with Russell and Triplet is that development of the safety plans. And so having them take the safety plans that they're developing on their current construction sites in light of COVID and kind of transforming those to meet the safety needs of the Sherwood School District, and making sure that, you know, we're meeting all the CDC guidelines, we're meeting the government guidelines and distancing requirements. So things that we're focusing on is extra sanitation stations in each of these spaces, the no sick policy, not letting anybody on the site that's sick, and just always creating that safe working environment so that we can keep the manpower there to keep these projects on schedule, so that we can open schools back up at the end of August here. So that's kind of what I have for safety plans. To go into potential challenges that we may see with the COVID updates. One thing that I will say that the district and myself have been doing with both Russell and Triplet is pushing on them and our architect team to process through our submittals, especially our long lead items, so that we don't run into issues where we're stuck waiting on something that could potentially impact our occupancy. So pushing our teams to make sure that they're submitting the things so that they can get in line for purchasing that, because we have had factories that have shut down. We're seeing that factories are starting to reopen now, but we want to make sure that we're in that line so that we get the product so we can install it.
Mary, this is Jim.
Yeah.
So not all of the folks on our committee are from a construction background, and
Okay.
submittals might be something foreign to them. Would you take a moment and explain what submittals are?
Yes, so submittals is the actual process that the design team, which would be the architects, engineers, and the construction team, the design team will call out a certain item that they want, like a certain type of sheetrock. And what the construction team then has to do is take that sheetrock that the design team has specified, go to their sheetrock contractor and say, this is what I need, get me all of the information on it. That includes the warranty on it, the lifespan, just all of the nitty-gritty facts to make sure that we're meeting the district standards for that product as well as the design team standards for that project, so that we're not putting in bad product into your buildings. Does that help with submittals and procurement?
Yes, thank you very much.
Perfect. So yeah, like I said, right now with the projects that haven't started, we're really pushing on that buy process, like making sure that we can buy what we need to buy so that's on site when we go to start construction mid-May. Other potential concerns, like we've said before, manpower concerns if people get sick. Sometimes we've heard that certain subcontractors don't want to work in a certain proximity with other subcontractors just because that's their rules that their company has. So kind of making sure that everybody understands the expectations company to company and is meeting what the general is stating are the expectations for the whole project. And so one of the other things, the final thing that we're doing is just asking for regular updates from all of our generals on what they're seeing in the field. Like, where are your concerns? Is that with a certain product? Is that with a certain manufacturer? Is that with a certain subcontractor manpower wise? So just kind of trying to stay ahead of it as much as possibly so that we can be nimble and react when we need to react. So that's what I got for the Ridges and MST.
Thanks, Mary. I'll open it up to questions from the committee, or if there's additional comments anybody wants to make. I'm not hearing any.
Jim, can I share a random fact? This is Sean.
Certainly.
For those who like numbers, I looked it up and did some math, and on 73 acres, we can fit 84,000 people 6 feet apart if they were all spread out. So just one of those random facts anyone would like.
I used to tweet a lot of those random facts. I'm not sure that's one I'm going to tweet, but thank you. I did the same for the actual building, which at 350,000 square feet, we can fit about 2,500 people in there, giving each their 6 feet of distance between. Great. Taylor, I don't have any.
So I was going to say, you know, I'm one of those people that does not have a construction background. So from those who do have a construction background, is there, and including not just board members, but is there anything that should be of concern that I should note in my letters to the board, the school board, or anything like that that are, you know, it sounds like from a layman's perspective, you're doing what you can do, and you're making plans A, B, and C, and you know, there's some things that are beyond our control, but we're trying to prioritize it and minimize the impact. That's coming from you know, I don't know if there's a big wave coming that I'm not catching up on, but so if you have any of you with the construction background, or is there something I should be worried about that I'm not, as I compose my letter here?
This is Sean. I don't know if anyone else was going to say anything. No, I mean, I think you've summarized it well, at least for the projects that Skanska is on. Those are the only ones I can speak to. You know, in the high school, we were fortunate that most of our materials were on site, so that part wasn't something that we had to necessarily worry about as much as other projects that are starting. And it's just something that we've been working through. You know, it kind of it put a hurdle in front of us, and we're trying to jump over, and we're working together and doing what we can. I mean, you summarized it very well. We are still moving forward, and we're making plans to hit the needs that you know, like the admin move in. We're finding a path to get there. So it's challenging. It's not easy. It's definitely different. I haven't worked from home for 5 weeks in my entire life. So not an easy task, but we're getting through it. So.
Tim, I have another comment. So the other thing that we're working on at the high school is the tremendous effort that it will take to complete what we in the construction business call a punch list. So when the contractor thinks he's done, we ask him to go and walk the area, confirm that he believes he's done. And then when he believes he's done, the architect comes in, or the engineers come in and does an official punch list that is a written document that clarifies the things they need to fix before we tell them they're done. That process is going to start plus or minus May 15th. So it will start before we're together again. But we actually have worked out by section of the building when the design team, the architect, and the engineers can come in and do the punch list. And so our goal is we get that punch completed in a timely manner and then get whatever repair work, we're hoping it's very little, done so that we are 100% done with the building when staff comes back and starts their contract time in August. So I just want everybody to know that that punch list process we've been working on it for months. It's going to start in a short time, and that's another key component of completing the building.
Thanks, Rick. Are there any other comments or questions? I'd turn over to Taylor to kind of further that line of questioning about the board report and what needs to be shared.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I've been making notes throughout the meeting here today. Are there any specifics other than the summary I made on our main topic? I also made some notes on the variance, the expenditures, but on that I say that they were expected, however, quite large. I don't know, Eric, you had a comment about those. Was there something that was concerning about those, or was it just an explanation needed?
Nothing concerning, just, there's a lot of money to spend in a short period of time. And so a lot has to happen. And so just something to be aware of. But it seems like the burn rate is up to speed. So not a lot of concern there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm worried about Jim's check writing hand as well. He's been having to get carpal tunnel. So any other comments from members of the board of things, or from you, Eric, as well, of things that specifically you'd like me to call out in the report? I also have some thumbs up to give just on the flexibility and the creativity with which this COVID-19 thing is being addressed.
Taylor, this is Eric. I would say I appreciate the fact that we're very confident in the timeline. That says a lot when we have several months left. It says a lot that we're confident.
Okay. Is there any lack of confidence on the road work? I know a lot of that is still in the county's hand. We had a little slip, but we're still pretty sure that they're going to hit their targets.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I didn't note is that the time they've been working on L work probably ahead of where they thought they would be. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they have the concrete paving of the roundabout was almost 80% complete when they turned over Haiti to us. It wasn't planning on being any of that done before then. So I think they're going to see significant gains when they start kind of dedicating forces over to that area that we're working on Haiti. We don't see any concerns with that. I mean, especially considering that we have less of a need with the kids not coming back, but there's still a final pave date of June 15th that's out there that they're working towards. So we feel pretty good about that.
All right. Any other comments that you would like specifically for me to add into my report to the board? Okay. I have what I need then.
Taylor, this is Jim. I would suggest we circle back to the minute approval now that we have a quorum, so we can take care of the business before we adjourn.
Good call.
Eric motions to approve the minutes.
All right. Is there a second?
Eric Ross as well.
All right, Eric Ross, is that a second? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes? And this is John, Eric. Okay. James, perfect. I didn't see a vote from John or Eric.
Eric Ross, I'm in.
Okay. John? Are you in? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's still a quorum. We have 7, right?
Yep.
So, wow, skin of our teeth. We got it. All right. Send me those over. I'll print them out, fax them, and send them back to you, Caitlin or Christine. I'm not sure who's sending those to me. All right. Let me go back to the agenda here. All right. Well, we are ready to adjourn. We have our next meeting, May 27th. I assume we'll still be in the distancing mode. So just plan on that. Given that we are about an hour ahead of schedule, that might not be. Are we supposed to, yeah, we're supposed to end this thing at 7, right? 7:30.
We end it when you're done with the work, Taylor.
Seems like it went fast tonight, which is, hey, that might be the new normal. We may have been on to something here. All right. Hey, thank you very much for giving up your part of your Wednesday night. I appreciate it. Great report, and I will write this up and get it over to you as quickly as I can. And by the way, pass along to all of your the people that are on your projects and your teams that we really appreciate the work they're doing. I mean, I know it's a job to them and it's a paycheck and everything else, but as just as a father of 5 children in the district, and just the fact that they're putting their own safety at risk and things like that to get these schools done really means a lot to me, and I'm very appreciative of it. So please pass that along to your teams, your foreman, and just say, hey, we really appreciate it as a community what you're building for us. It'll be something that we'll be proud of for generations. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll definitely share that.
That's all I got. I adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
I don't have a gavel. Bye, guys.
Bye.